Russian ionosphere heater that's very active.
Yeah, the IceCat is the name for the HARP facility that's in Norway that we were saying is near the island of Tromsø, where everybody saw this thing in the sky.
Right, and then there's something about this being developed by the Russians, and it's also been researched, I'm told, covertly with elements of the Australian government in the mid-'80s as green thunder in the sky. Interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. The green, luminous green connection shows up a lot when you're dealing with these sort of transdimensional technologies, because even in terms of natural phenomena, as we know, and I say in all my lectures, Ivan Sanderson in 1972 published a paper called The 12 Devil's Graveyards Around the World. And this paper basically laid out his research where he examined all of the aircraft disappearances in recorded aviation history that he could find, and all of the marine disappearances going back hundreds of years that he could find. And then for each time something disappeared, he found the coordinates and he put a pin on a big world map to show where it was. And after doing this over and over and over again, he found that they all kept clustering into the same 12 locations on the Earth's surface. And they were equally distant from each other, which suggests some kind of geometry. And in fact, if you connect the dots, you get this 20-sided polygon called an icosahedron. Now, we're not saying there's a crystal in the Earth. We're saying that this type of geometry is a natural occurrence in a vibrating fluid. The fluid in this case is the torsion field or the space-time medium itself. The vibration is where these space-time anomalies happen. So Bermuda Triangle, Devil's Triangle off the coast of Japan, there's one off the coast of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, there's two on either side of Australia, and these zones literally correspond to areas in which you can warp through space and time and have a dimensional crossover. And the reason why I'm bringing all this up is that if you read the original books on the Bermuda Triangle, like Charles Berlitz's, the book called Bermuda Triangle, he describes over and over again whistleblowers who have actually experienced the Bermuda Triangle's energy, saying that it always seems to manifest as this sort of luminous green mist that shows up right before you go into the vortex. So it would totally make sense that any man-made technology that's doing the same type of stuff would have the same type of glow associated with it, because that is apparently somehow related to this transdimensional effect.
Well, you know, there's a scientist, and I can't remember his name. I think he lives in the Far East, but he's written a book, I believe, about this. I think we heard about him in Australia for some reason. That's when we were at the Nexus conference.
Are you talking about Bruce Cathy by any chance?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And he talked exactly about all of that, those particular points on the globe. And I have to say that the beginning of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where Spielberg has the scene in which, you know, they're discovering these old planes that suddenly manifest out of the vortex, is also alluding calls. So
you just reminded me of something very interesting, too, which is that the day before this Norwegian spiral showed up, I was having a meeting about the Convergence screenplay at my house with Jim Hart, the guy that wrote Contact, and his writing partner, Amanda Wells. And we were talking about a motif that we were going to use in the film, which was of a spiral manifesting in nature. And I've had some of the witnesses that you and I both know, Carrie, at my house. And during the time that this particular witness, one in particular, was at the house, I had a sewage pipe burst in the ceiling over the kitchen, and it caused water to fall all over the kitchen when the toilet was flushed. The whole pipe burst open like a banana across a 6-foot wide length of the pipe, which clearly seemed to be saying, no more effing leaks. You know, like somebody used the technology that could pop that pipe, you know.
That's great. Okay. Sense of humor.
Right, and so if somebody's listening in to my house, you know, and again, this sounds very narcissistic, and I apologize in advance, but it is very curious that in the same house, right next to where the pipe burst, we're having this meeting, talking about the idea of spirals manifesting in nature, and they're asking me, has that ever happened? Do we have any real data to show spirals showing up in the sky or in the ocean or whatever? And frickin' the very next day, this spiral shows up in Norway. And I sent them an email and links to the thing, and they were both just totally tripping out on this. So I don't know if that's just coincidence or like that we psychically sensed it. We've actually already decided we're probably not going with the spiral motif in the movie. We're going to use something else. But it was heavily being discussed in that meeting, and then the very next day this happened.
Okay, so. I'm sorry, I got to interrupt here to say that I'm getting background information here from two people, and both of them are basically saying that things are really revving up right now, and they are saying that there are preparations being done by some negative sides of the equation to prepare for something pretty big. It looks like. I know that's vague, but for what it's worth.
Well, look, the point that we all have to remember is, and I keep saying this, and I keep saying this, and I keep saying this, the changes that we're talking about, whatever this fourth density shift is, if you want to use channelese like from the Law of One, or if you want to call it ascension, to use a Christian term that I often have used, or if you want to go more scientific and say that it's like this galactic energy wave that's coming in that seems to be transforming DNA and molecular biology in very fundamental ways that you can measure in the fossil record, these 26 and 62 million year cycles in which all the life on Earth basically gets a rewrite and seems to upgrade quite spontaneously. My explanation has always been that those long-term cycles of multi-millions of years are happening because of galactic waves that actually rewrite DNA. And we have laboratory proof that that can happen. We have Gariev, this Russian scientist, who's actually shown frog eggs being rewritten into salamander eggs by taking the waves from the salamander eggs and shining them into the frog eggs. So we know this stuff works. We know that it's available. And what I keep saying is, don't expect some cosmic light switch to go off on December 21st, 2012. The human species is now evolving 100 times faster in the last 5,000 years. And what that also means is that if you took somebody from 3000 BC, that person is more similar to Neanderthal than they are to you and me. That's how fast our DNA is changing. Dr. John Hawkes from University of Wisconsin has proven that. So we already know that we're going through this massive evolutionary spike. We already know that we've had a massive increase in technology in the last 300 years. What I'm saying is, don't keep waiting for something to happen. It's going to happen right in front of your face. It's going to happen right now. It's going to be no denying it, and you're not going to have to wait for it. And we are seeing now the manifestations of things we never thought possible. An unimaginable manifestation of this weird spiral in the sky that looks like a painting. It does not look like a natural phenomenon at all. And there it is. So the proof is right in front of your face. You don't need to wait for it, and it's going to keep happening. I do believe that. I think the more that the stakes rise and the more that people are pushing the envelope here, you're probably going to see more and more of this type of stuff happening. It's not just going to stop. In fact, I can barely even keep up with all the developments that are going on. There was a speech that Obama made with the Indian Prime Minister the same night that those people tried to crash the White House party, and there was so much publicity about that. That night, he made a speech in which he's saying, and I'll get the exact quote here in just a second, something about how in this night where we're under the stars and we're surrounded by great friends, and he keeps referring back to the starry skies, and in fact, I'm pulling up the link right now so I can read you the exact transcript of it because it's so incredibly fascinating. We are surrounded by great friends, for it's been said that the most beautiful things in the universe are the starry heavens above us and the feeling of duty within us. Tonight, under the stars, we celebrate the spirit that will sustain our partnership, the bonds of friendship between our people. So again, he's saying we are surrounded by great friends, and then the very next sentence after saying we're surrounded by great friends is, for it's been said the most beautiful things in the universe are the starry heavens above us and the feeling of duty within us. Well, duty for what?
Okay, sorry to interrupt again,
Sure.
David, but I am getting some information here, and this is news happening as we are on the air and as we speak. This is the information I'm being given, okay?
Go for it.
So what is the word?